Well, it's starting to get a little chilly outside. It is now hoodie season. My name is Nate, and today I'm going to show you how to tie-dye this hoodie right here. So before we get started, you're going to need a few supplies. First, you're going to need a hoodie. 100% cotton always works best, but it is a little hard to find 100% cotton hoodies. An 80-20 mixture with 100% cotton face will work perfect. That's what this is. That'll be your most vibrant colors. If all you can find is a 50-50 mix, that will still dye. It just won't be as vibrant as this. So I'm always looking for that 80-20, 80% cotton, 20% polyester with 100% cotton face. You're also going to need some soda ash, some Procion dye and dye bottles, and some rubber bands and some dish soap. So before we get started, you're going to need to pre-wash the shirt. So go ahead, or the hoodie. So you're going to need to put the hoodie in the washing machine and wash it with regular detergent. You don't have to worry about drying it. And then once that is ready, then we're going to mix that, or we're going to prep that in soda ash. So go ahead and get your hoodie washed, and then we will get started. After your hoodie is washed, you're going to be soaking it in soda ash. And so this water right here is a soda ash solution of 1 gallon of water to 1 cup of soda ash. I'm going to be putting quite a few hoodies in here. So I have 6 gallons in this, so I put 6 cups of soda ash. You can put as many items in that will fit, and then you're going to want to let it sit. So we'll see if like all these will fit in here. You need to make sure that they get completely wet. So you press it in there, and with hoodies, they're going to take quite a bit of water. And so if you're only doing one, you're probably going to need at least 1 gallon of water. 1 gallon should be just fine for one. So you're going to get it all in there, let all your liquid absorb, and then you're going to want to let this sit for about 15 minutes. All right, once your hoodie has sat for about 15 minutes or so, you're going to want to wring out all the excess water. And so you're just going to start squeezing as you pick it up. Some of these can get kind of heavy. This is, I'm not sure exactly what size this is, but because of how much hoodies absorb, these can absorb a lot of water. So you're going to want to try to squeeze out as much water as possible. So there's the first initial squeeze. And then if you can, try to get a little bit more out, especially if you're using this water. So this water can be saved to dye more. So if you're doing more than one, then you can keep some of this water because there's still soda ash in the water that's being squeezed out. We're going to try to get as much water out as possible. You don't want to twist it too much because you can tear some of the stitches and stuff. So you really want to squeeze more than twist. You can twist a little bit, but you want to get as much water as possible out. Then we're going to put it in this bucket here. So it's still not quite ready to dye. You can either hang it up somewhere and let it dry out. But if it's cold, that could take a long time. So one of the things that I like to do is we're going to take this to the washing machine and we're going to spin it out. To spin out the excess water with the washing machine, what you want to do, turn it on. And with mine, so there's a lot of different settings, but mine is the front load. And so what I do is I can come over here to this rinse and spin setting, and it automatically puts the rinse on here. I do not want it to rinse. So to turn the rinse cycle off, I have to push this all the way till it turns off. Once that rinse cycle is off, it's good, because if it rinses, then it'll rinse the soda ash out and you'll have to soak it again. And then to spin it, I put it on the highest setting for the spin, and then we start it. So after your shirt has spun out the excess liquid, now we'll be ready to start tying. If you had yours just hanging up to dry, you'll want it to get mostly dry, but not completely. So it's still going to be slightly damp. If it dries out completely, it'll be okay, but it'll be a little bit harder to tie because it can get kind of dry and crispy. So you'll want it to just be slightly damp, but not too damp. The drier it is, the more dye you can put in it. So if it's too wet, it won't accept very much dye. And if it's too dry, it will repel the dye until it gets dry. So you want it to be slightly damp for the tying process. It also helps it tie a little easier when it's slightly damp. So kind of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. You don't want it too hot, too cold, just right. So we don't want too dry or too wet. We want it just right. And then we're going to turn this inside out. And actually we're going to put this face up. So normally I don't do hoodies that have too many folds in them. There is a limit to what kind of patterns can be put in a hoodie because of its thickness, and with the pouch in the front too, that pocket, that adds extra layers. And so some of the patterns that you can do on a shirt are a lot more difficult with the hoodie. Some of them can't even be done. A lot of them can, but some of them can't. So with this being folded, you're going to want to make sure to take out all of your wrinkles, get it as smooth and flat as possible, because there's going to be 4 mirror points in this shirt. So every tie-dye is based off of mirrors for the most part. There's always a mirror in your fold somewhere. And so in these folds right here mirror the front and back. So here is a mirror point, here is a mirror point. Those are our 2. So then we're also going to be folding in half, which will be a mirror point. The more times you fold, the harder it is to get dye through all of the layers. And so that's what makes hoodies in some of the folds difficult, because once you fold it, every fold is twice as much layers. With a hoodie being already twice as thick or more than a shirt, you're now building upon building more layers and more layers very quickly. And so too many layers make it very hard for the dye to get to all of the layers. So you have to keep that into consideration on how many times you fold a shirt. So this, we're only going to make one fold. We're going to fold it in half. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this side and we're going to fold it to meet up with this side. So we want this to meet, we want this to meet, and then we're going to feel to make sure that this pocket here lines up, because this is the front of the shirt. So as long as the pocket lines up, then that means the middle of the shirt is lined up. If that does not line up, because we're mirroring the shirt, you will see the difference in side to side. So that it is important to make sure that this first seam is done just right. But you'll line up your seams to your armpit. These seams will line up, and then you're going to come over here to the hood, and we're going to make sure the hood is lined up too. So there's a few different ways to do the hood. So I think with this, we're going to push the front of the hood into the hood. I think I was probably off camera when I was doing that. So we're going to push it into the hood so that it feels, let me slide this so you can see, so that it flattens with itself here and feels flush. What we're looking for is all of the flush points. We don't want anything to be weird and wrinkled. We're trying to keep it the same from side to side, so whatever feels smooth and flush and is able to lay flat based off of what we're working with. And like hoods get real difficult. There's a lot of layers in there. The hood has multiple layers. This is even multiple layers. Like the inside of the hoodie is a layer of mostly polyester. And then the outside of the hoodie is 100% cotton. This is a 80-20 hoodie with 100% cotton face. Okay, so now that we've got that, let's see what the best angle is for this, for what we're about to do. And if you need a visual to see your angle, you can take a yardstick or a meter stick like this and figure out what angle you want your V pattern to be. So if you want like a narrow, deep V, or if you want like a wider, shallow V, that's going to be dependent on your angle here. So what we'll do, we're going to go from the shoulder, go down to about here. I think it's going to give us a good angle. And to visualize your line that you're going to tie, you can take some washable markers and just straight draw your line. And you can do this to the whole shirt if you need. This will definitely help keep all of your lines straight, keep everything in unison. And then you may even want to do something different in the hood up here. We'll see. We might do something different. I'm kind of thinking about doing something different from this point out, but I don't know yet. We'll just kind of go from here. That's the fun thing about tie-dye is, so sometimes you'll be like, yeah, I just want to do a pattern. But then as you start, you realize you can do more than just what you're doing. So sometimes you take a pattern and you can do half pattern on the shirt and half of another pattern on that same shirt, or in this case a hoodie. I'm used to saying shirt, so if I say shirt, I apologize. I know I've been saying it on some of the other videos that I've been making, even though this is a hoodie. I don't. These are the first sets of videos that I've made with hoodies. As I am down in Texas, it is, I don't know, it doesn't really get cold. It got cold for a few days here. So like last year, it got cold for like 2 weeks during the winter. It was about it. So I did not make any hoodies last year. And then this year, it's gotten kind of cold already, but it is now warm again. It's like 80 degrees right now. But it's supposed to get cooler again. And I decided, I need to dye these hoodies. So here we are working on the hoodies that I bought last year and just never made because it never got cold here. Okay, so now what we're going to do, rotate. I don't want the sleeves to fall off too much, so we're going to keep this here. And I'm going to grab some clips. So I have some clips here. And as we start to pleat this, I'm going to use these clips to help keep our pleats put together. I got these from the dollar store back when they were actually the dollar store, which they are not anymore. It's been a while since I've been there, but yeah, so these are fairly inexpensive. You don't have to have these. This does help though. What we're going to do is we're going to pleat. So we're going to make a pinch that's going to go. So I'm going to do something here just so that you can kind of get a reference of what we're doing. We don't have to follow these lines completely, but so the way that we're folding is going to go along this line like this here. So we're working now in a perpendicular line from those first ones. Okay, so let's just say we go right here. So what I'll typically do is go to the end, make a pinch, and kind of pull so that it raises this. And we're going to make a pinch right there. So we're going to pinch that. And then we're going to pleat the rest of the shirt in that same sense. So we're going to make a pinch, and we're going to make that pinch meet up with the other so that all of these lines here line up, continue to line up straight. And as you can see, it seemed to be about right. So see how my pink line right there? So I just kind of guessed on that. Drawing that line is not necessary, and unless they are the same width, they're not going to be a help if you do it. I just wanted to show you so that you can see how we were doing this. But what you want is for all of your, see how this is all holding. So if this wasn't holding, that's what I got the clips for. So if you do need to clip, you can, but as you can see, it's not necessary at the moment. So we'll get to it when we do. So we're going to keep everything in line here. So I think I will just tie all this in one pattern for you to see for this video, but there is a way to split patterns. So like once you tie this, say this point right here, after you tie this, you would stop right here and then you could do something else on the front, but I don't think we're going to do that here. So we're just going to continue to pleat. So the next pleat we always want these to be the same height. So our pinch to make that next pleat is going to make it so that this is level. And I'll show you from the other side once we get this all the way tied up so that you can see it a little better. But we're going to work all the way up into the hood as well. And so we're going to pleat the rest of this. Just make sure our lines are in line here. And it may not be 100% perfect. You just want them to be as close as you're able. So we're going to come over here, just straight to the hoodie or to the hood. We're going to finish the hood right here. Okay. And so since there's nothing to hold this, this won't hold itself. So I'm going to go ahead, take a clip here, put it right there. And since there's not many folds here, and there's a bunch of material right here too, and that this is finished, so with it being finished, I'm going to go ahead and clip this to keep it from moving. So now we're going to move a little bit to work on this sleeve over here, and we're just going to finish pleating the sleeves to fit like the rest of the shirt here. So now that has finished, now we're going to take our clips. This won't hold either, so what we're going to do is we're going to come to right here, put a clip right here, see if I can fit this over here because it's thick. And then we're going to come over to the sleeve and put one right here on the sleeve. And to start tying, to figure out where to start. So you're going to want to start up here at the hood. We're going to take some rubber bands. Now I'm going to take this first one off and add it to right here to give a little support to that sleeve. So this first rubber band, we're going to rubber band every one of the green lines that we drew. So this first rubber band I'm going to stick on here, and we're going to put this one on here a little tight. So it looks like 3 wraps. The rest of them, what we'll do, twist into an 8, fold the rubber band over so that it's doubled over, and then we're going to stretch this out and slip it over just like so. Now that we've got the rubber band here, we don't need this clip anymore. So we can go ahead and just set that aside. And we're going to continue working all the way down this shirt. And put one right at each line. We may have to fix part of it, especially if we happen to bump something. If you unintentionally hit it and it moves and you don't want it to be like that, so you may have to come and adjust. Usually what I'll do is just make sure that the one I'm about to put a rubber band on is nice and perfect. And we bring it all the way over, and that I get it to slide easily by putting it through, just like I said, and stretching it, and then I drag my bottom knuckle on the table. And with this being a plastic table, it will slide over it. So right here, it's going to get a little tough. So you may have to squeeze with your hand to get it in and work your way into it. As long as your lines are, for the most part, lined up, you're going to be good here. Right here is the thickest part, so this will probably be the hardest one to put on. And it's still going to be easier to start from that end than it will from this end. So, because that's a long way away, let's see if we can slide this all the way. Just about. Got pretty close. Just like that. So now we can pull that one off. See if we can get all the way to there without dragging the hoodie. Ah, so close. It's almost like magic when you can get it to slide all the way down. All right, so I think we're good over here now. So what we're going to do, start on this end. And since it's right on the edge here, I'm going to move it in just a little bit so that it doesn't slip off this bottom part. And then this very last one, we're going to do like what we did with the very first one. Put it on there once, fold it, and triple it over just like that. Okay, so it took me a little bit to figure out what colors I was going to use. I'm starting to run low on dye here because I've been dyeing hoodies all day today. And so if you need to see how to mix dye, please watch my video, What is Procion Dye? And it'll go over how to mix the dyes with you. And then you can get to dyeing. And so what I've got here is I've got some oranges, I've got a purple, and I've got a black. And so these oranges are, these are actually all made up of some bright orange, some lemon yellow, and there's a little bit of fuchsia in there to make a deep orange here. And so what I'm going to do with this is the point of the shoulder is right here. So that very first line that I drew is going to be this line right here. And so what I'm going to do is we're going to make a bright orange V, and then the outside is going to be black and purple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my lightest orange and try to decide, let's see, just how big. All right, so here's the middle. I don't want the V to go all the way down. And here is the hood. So if that's the shoulder, so you know what I think, honestly, so this whole rubber band right here is going to be my center point. So this is where I'm going to want the brightest color. And then we're going to work our way out from this point right here. So be sure to get a good amount there. And then these oranges, they're going to get a little bit deeper as I start to work my way out. So that first orange was actually mostly lemon yellow with just a tiny little bit of bright orange added to it. And then it diluted down really far so that it's a super bright color. That's how I get my pastels and my brights and stuff, is by mixing my normal colors just like normal, and then once I want a brighter color or something, I'll just put a small amount of that color into the bottle and then put a whole bunch of water in with it. And what that'll do is give you a brighter version of that color. Is that the right orange? We're gonna double check. Yep, okay. This almost seemed like it was the full orange, and so I thought it was about to be too bright of an orange, or I mean too deep of an orange to be using, but nope, not quite. So we're actually fitting quite a bit of oranges into this one little spot here. And so this will give us a nice gradient fade by doing this. As you can see, it's just getting deeper and deeper in color as we work our way out. And then that one's going to be our deepest orange. And then we'll be using black. We don't want the orange and the purple touching. If those touch, it will make a brown that we don't want for this. If you want brown, you are welcome to use brown. This color palette that I'm using right here, I'm going to try to get the orange and purples without making too much brown. So there's going to be some black used in this too. In that black, once black and orange touch, it does make a brown color, but it's going to just be like a dark orange brown. So this is pretty much red out here on the edge. Put a little bit of this in so that they get some good blends. It seems to be a hard difference between those. So I like to cross my colors just to give them a nice good blending. I want to make sure I don't use all of those because I'm going to flip it over and put those colors on the other side too. Okay, so now I'm going to look at this, make sure it's rotated correct. And I'm going to take black, and black is going to get all right here. And we're going to get a nice, good, healthy amount of black. I'm going to put a lot of it on here. This is going to be a bright, dark hoodie. So this will be bright, and then the rest of it will be pretty dark. So we'll be doing black and purple for the rest of this. I want to try not to use all of this black. This black is mixed twice as heavy as my other colors, and black does cost more, so I try to be a little careful with it, although I do use it on pretty much all of my dyes. Okay, now the purple. Make sure we got enough for all this. Well, hopefully we do. We're just going to start making sure we get a little bit over all of it. That way at least all of it gets some purple. So hoodies take a lot of dye. A lot of dye. So they're going to take... So this is an extra large probably. I can't tell. I can't see the flag. I think this is an extra large. This is probably going to take 24 ounces of dye or more. So I do need to be careful. I am limited on how much dye I have left over, just because I dyed a few hoodies today. So that means 24 ounces of dye is going to take this bottle in my hand, this bottle of black, that is 16 ounces, and then at least 2 full bottles. And those bottles are not full. So I am probably going to be using just about every last bit of dye that I have here. And I tend to do that sometimes. You just go with what you have. Instead of trying to figure out, oh, what colors am I going to use? Oh, I want to do it this color. I want to do it that color. Well, can't always do that. All right, so I just ran out right there. And I feel there's not a whole lot of black in there. There's a little bit left in here. It's not really left in there. It's actually what I think I might do. Like a little bit of gray. So gray is super easy to make. So all you do is take a tiny bit of black, just a tiny bit, put it in there, and then you get yourself some water. And fill that up. Maybe not fill it, just depend on how much you need, what color black you're gonna go, or gray you're gonna go with. So the more you dilute it, the lighter it's gonna go. And I just realized I have some black right here too, so that's good. I had mixed black earlier, so good thing I do have some black. But I would rather use some of that gray too, just because it means I'm going to end up using a whole lot less of the actual black dye. So to test this gray, you see what we got there? We got a nice little gray. Okay. So what I'm going to do, we'll make sure we got enough black here. Enough black here. And I'm going to leave a tiny bit of a gap there. And I'm going to go over all of this purple with the black. Not going to saturate it as much as the purple. This is going to give us a darker purple. And then we're going to flip this over. And we're going to dye this side similar but different. So we're going to put, actually before we do that, so what we're going to do is we're going to put our deeper orangish reddish a little bit out here where the black is. And what that's going to do is on the edge of our V that goes in it, is instead of having a straight line, we're going to have like this effect going along the V. So it's going to be very similarly dyed on this side, but the colors will be shifted over just a little bit to give that effect. So I don't have much of this dye, so I gotta be careful. I can get some on both sides. And there's going to need to be more on this side because there's a lot more hoodie over here than there is here. A lot more material there. Okay, and that is the rest of that color. We'll probably be using the rest of this color too. Just make sure we get a nice even amount on both sides before it runs out. There we go. And our second to last color, we don't want it to go all the way in. Keep the center for our brightest color there. And then this one will get the rest. And actually, I kind of feel like to help brighten the center just a tiny little bit, I'm going to put a little pure yellow right there. And then we'll go back over it with this. So we do want an orange. This is going to be orange, but it's just going to make that part a little bit brighter. Now we're going to take the black and we're going to border. Uh-oh. Looks like we dripped right there. So what I'm going to do is take, I don't even know how I missed that. It'll be all right. I'm going to take the black, put our border right here too. Now we're going to take this gray, put a bunch of gray on here. We're going to let this gray almost meet up with the purple on the other side. Save some for this side. This will give us more variety in our pattern too by using gray and black. Instead of it just being a solid black, we'll have some variances in darker black to lighter black and throughout in the grays. Okay, so there's a good amount of gray. And now we're going to take some black and we're going to put the black over the gray. I'm going to put a decent, healthy amount. What this will do is give us dark grays, light grays, and that looks like the rest of the black right there. So now we are finished, and we're going to let that sit for 24 hours, and then we're going to wash that out tomorrow. So our hoodie is now rinsed, washed, and dried. If you need to see how to do that, please watch my video, How to Rinse and Wash Your Hoodie, and it will go over the instructions on how to do that with you. We're going to go over this one just a little bit so we can see what we did here. So the first thing we did is we folded it in half, and by doing that, that gives us the same pattern on the two sides. And then we made that pleat that went in that direction this way. And so here we have our orange that we did with the darker orange on the two ends to the lighter. And then this yellow that we put on at the very end, that is on just that one side. So that is why it's every other rather than here, 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 and here. And so that just gives a different effect to it. And then it's mostly black on the outside, which is what I was going for. But then we put a little bit of gray and some purple on there as well. And our purple was a high blue mixture. And so some of that purple had a blue halo around the edge. And then the gray, you can barely see the gray. It's a little bit in there. But this has a nice dark effect with the light effect with just little accents of our color. So you can see some of that purple that's in here and not a whole lot of it, which I didn't want too much, just a little. And then by altering by slightly offsetting the color from one side to the other, that's how we get these marks that go in and out. And then our hood, it's mostly black, but you can see we've got some accents here of some purple and some of that blue and white accent there. And then our strings here, these were polyester, so these did not dye. All of the dye washed out of these. And then on the back side, we have the same. This is why it's important to make sure that in the beginning, you smoothen out all your wrinkles and you get all of your fabric flat so that once you fold it, it is flat. And then once you dye it, you end up having the same thing from one side to the other, and then on the back side as well as the front side. So please be sure to click that like and subscribe for more videos. My name is Nate. Thank you for watching.